A day at the sea. Once upon a time, in a cheerful little town by the sea, there lived a girl named Emma. Emma had bright, curious eyes and a heart full of adventure. She loved the sound of the waves, the smell of the salty air, and the feeling of sand between her toes. Every summer, Emma's family would go to the beach, and this year was no different. One sunny morning, Emma woke up early. The sun peeked through her curtains, and she could hear the gentle crash of the waves in the distance. Today's the day, she thought excitedly. She quickly got out of bed, dressed in her favorite swimsuit, and ran downstairs. "Mom! Dad! Are we going to the beach today?" she called out, her voice full of excitement. "Yes, we are," her mom replied with a smile. "We're leaving after breakfast. Make sure to pack your things." Emma dashed to the kitchen where the sweet smell of pancakes filled the air. After a delicious breakfast, Emma gathered her beach essentials, a colorful beach towel, a big sun hat, sunscreen, and her favorite toy, a bright red bucket and shovel. When everything was packed, Emma and her family hopped into the car. Her little brother, Max, was also excited. He loved building sandcastles and splashing in the waves. As they drove along, they sang songs and played games, counting how many different cars they saw on the road. Finally, they arrived at the beach. Emma could hardly contain her excitement as they parked the car and jumped out. The sound of seagulls filled the air, and the ocean sparkled under the bright sun. "Look, Emma, the water looks amazing." "Look, Emma, the water looks amazing," Max exclaimed, pointing at the waves that danced along the shore. They set up their beach umbrella and laid out their towels. Emma applied sunscreen, making sure to cover her arms and legs. "Don't forget to protect your skin," her mom reminded them. With everything set up, Emma raced toward the water, Max trailing behind her. As she reached the edge of the waves, the cool water splashed against her feet. It felt refreshing and fun. "Come on, Max! Let's go in," Emma shouted, running deeper into the ocean. The water was just right, not too cold and not too warm. They jumped and splashed, laughing as the waves rolled over them. After some time, Emma noticed a group of kids building a sandcastle nearby. They were working hard, packing sand into buckets and carefully sculpting towers. "That looks fun! Let's build our own sandcastle," Emma said to Max. They ran back to their spot, grabbed their bucket and shovel, and started digging. They dug a big hole and then filled their bucket with wet sand. Max poured the sand into a tall tower while Emma shaped it with her hands. Together, they made the tallest sandcastle they could, complete with walls and a moat. As they worked, they heard the laughter of other children nearby. "Can we join you?" a friendly girl asked. Her name was Rhea, and she had a big smile on her face. She was with her brother, Jake. "Of course, we're building a sandcastle," Emma replied, excited to have new friends. Rhea and Jake helped Emma and Max decorate the sandcastle with seashells and seaweed they found on the beach. They all worked together, giggling and chatting about their favorite beach activities. "Do you want to have a sandcastle competition?" Rhea suggested. "We can each build our own and see whose is the best." "Great idea," Emma said. They all agreed and got to work on their individual castles. Emma decided to make a grand castle with a tall flag made of a stick and a piece of seaweed. Max built a smaller castle with a bridge leading to it. After a while, they stepped back to admire their creations. Emma looked at the other sandcastles. "They're all so cool. I can't wait to see which one the adults think is the best," she said. When they finished, they called their parents over to judge the sandcastle competition. Emma's mom, Max's dad, and Rhea's parents gathered around, looking at each castle carefully. "Wow, you all did an amazing job," Emma's mom said. "It's hard to choose a winner." After much deliberation, they finally announced a winner. "Every castle is unique and special, but we have to give the prize to Emma and Max for their creativity," they said. Emma jumped up and down with joy. "Thank you," she shouted. They all cheered and celebrated with high fives. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with beautiful shades of orange and pink, Emma and her friends decided to take a break. They walked along the beach, collecting seashells and splashing in the shallow water. Max picked up a shiny shell and showed it to Emma. "Look at this one. It's so pretty," he exclaimed. "It's perfect for our collection," Emma said, adding it to her own little pile of shells. They laughed as they found all sorts of unique shells. Some were smooth, while others had ridges and colorful patterns. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, they headed back to their towels for a snack. Emma's mom had packed delicious sandwiches and juicy watermelon slices. They sat together, enjoying their food and chatting about their day. "Tomorrow, we can come back and build even bigger sandcastles," Mia suggested, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Yes, and we can explore the tide pools too," Emma replied, remembering how much she loved looking for sea creatures. After their snack, they decided to go for one last swim. The water felt warm and inviting as they splashed around. Emma dove under the waves, feeling like a little fish. She popped back up, giggling, and shouted, "This is the best day ever." As they swam, they spotted a school of tiny fish darting around. "Look, fish!" Max yelled, pointing excitedly. They swam closer to see the colorful little fish swim in and out of the seaweed. Emma was amazed. "They're so beautiful," she said. Soon, it was time to head back. The sky was darkening, and the stars were starting to twinkle above them. They dried off and packed their things, saying goodbye to Mia and Jake. "See you tomorrow," Emma called as they waved goodbye. On the way home, Emma felt tired but happy. She leaned back in her seat, smiling as she thought about the day. "We had so much fun, didn't we, Max?" she said, giving him a pat on the head. Max wagged his tail and barked happily in response. When they got home, Emma took a warm bath to wash off the sand and salt water. As she lay in bed, she couldn't stop thinking about all the adventures they had that day. "I can't wait for tomorrow," she whispered as she drifted off to sleep, dreaming of sandcastles, seashells, and the wonderful sea. The next morning, Emma woke up bright and early, filled with excitement. After breakfast, she quickly put on her swimsuit and packed her bag. This time, she added a small bucket for collecting seashells and a camera to capture all the fun moments. When they arrived at the beach, the sun was shining, and the waves were calling. Emma and Max raced toward the water, splashing and laughing. They could see Mia and Jake already building sandcastles, and they quickly joined in. "Let's make a giant castle together," Emma suggested. Everyone agreed, and they started working as a team. They dug a big hole for the base and used their buckets to make towers. They laughed and cheered each other on, working together to create the biggest sandcastle anyone had ever seen. As they built, they decorated the castle with seashells and bits of seaweed, giving it a royal look. "This castle is going to be amazing," Mia exclaimed, wiping the sweat from her forehead. After a while, they stood back to admire their creation. The sandcastle was tall and magnificent, with a flag waving proudly at the top. They all cheered, proud of their teamwork. "Now, let's explore the tide pools," Emma suggested. They all agreed, excited to see what sea creatures they could find. The tide pools were filled with sparkling water and colorful rocks. As they bent down to look closer, they spotted crabs scuttling across the sand, starfish clinging to the rocks, and even some tiny fish swimming in the pools. "Look at that starfish," Max said, pointing at a bright orange one. They carefully picked it up and admired its unique shape. "It's so cool," Emma said. "Let's put it back in the water so it can swim." They gently placed the starfish back in the tide pool, feeling happy to help it. They continued exploring, finding more treasures in the pools, like shiny shells and colorful pebbles. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, they decided to take a break and have a picnic. Emma's mom had packed delicious sandwiches again, along with fruit and juice. They spread out their blanket on the sand and enjoyed their lunch together. "This is the best beach day ever," Mia said, taking a big bite of her sandwich. They all laughed and agreed. After lunch, they played games on the beach. They played frisbee, ran races, and even tried to build the tallest sand tower. Emma and her friends had so much fun, their laughter ringing out over the sound of the waves. As the day began to wind down, they decided to go for one last swim. The water felt wonderful, and they splashed around, diving under the waves and floating on their backs. The sky was starting to turn shades of pink and orange as the sun began to set. "This is perfect," Emma said, smiling at her friends. "I'm so glad we got to spend the day together." When it was finally time to go home, they packed up their things, feeling tired but happy. Emma waved goodbye to Mia and Jake, promising to meet again the next day for more adventures. On the drive home, Emma couldn't stop talking about all the fun they had. "We saw crabs, built a giant sandcastle, and swam in the sea. I can't wait to tell everyone at school about it," she said excitedly. That night, as Emma lay in bed, she thought about the beautiful day they had. She felt grateful for her friends, her family, and the magical time spent by the sea. She closed her eyes, dreaming of more beach adventures to come. The next day was the last day of summer vacation. Emma woke up with mixed feelings. She was sad that school was starting soon, but excited for one last day at the beach. After breakfast, she hurriedly got ready and packed her bag with her favorite items. She felt determined to make the most of this special day. When they arrived at the beach, Emma noticed the air felt different. It was filled with the sweet smell of cotton candy from a nearby stand. "Let's get some treats," Max shouted, pointing toward the stand. They all agreed, and Emma bought a big fluffy cotton candy. The sugar melted in her mouth, and she laughed as Max tried to get some too. His nose covered in pink fluff. With their treats in hand, they headed to the water, splashing and playing until the sun was high in the sky. They decided to have one last sandcastle competition, this time with even more creativity. Each of them built their own castle, adding special touches like bridges, moats, and even little flags. As they were building, a friendly old man walked by. He had a long beard and was collecting seashells. "Those are some impressive castles," he said with a smile. "You've done a great job." "Thank you," Emma replied proudly. They all beamed with happiness, enjoying the compliments from the kind stranger. After they finished their castles, they gathered around to see who won this time. "Let's let the old man judge," Mia suggested. The man chuckled and agreed to be the judge. After inspecting each castle, he finally said, "Each castle is unique and special, but I must say, I'm impressed by the teamwork you all showed today." As the day continued, they decided to explore a little further down the beach. They found a hidden cove where the waves crashed gently against the rocks. The sun was beginning to set, creating a beautiful golden glow. "Let's take a picture to remember this day," Emma suggested. They gathered together, holding their arms around each other, big smiles on their faces. Emma took a selfie with her camera, capturing the magic of the moment. "This will be a memory to treasure forever," she said, looking at the photo. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with colors of orange, pink, and purple, Emma felt a sense of peace and happiness. She realized that although summer was ending, she would always have these wonderful memories to hold on to. When it was time to leave, Emma and her family packed up their things, feeling grateful for the incredible summer they had shared. They drove home with the windows down, the warm breeze flowing through the car. That night, as Emma prepared for bed, she thought about all the adventures she had experienced by the sea. She knew that school would be starting soon, but she also knew that she could share her summer stories with her friends. With a smile on her face, she snuggled under her blanket, dreaming of sandcastles, waves, and the magic of the beach. She closed her eyes, knowing that even though summer was coming to an end, the memories would last a lifetime. And so, the girl who loved the sea learned that adventures could be found in every season, and every moment spent with family and friends was truly special. Well done!